Hi everyone, I'm Matthew McCulley and I'm the managing editor of the Sherbrooke Record, and I'm here to talk to you about the importance of community correspondence. There's always a lot happening in communities, but reporters can't be everywhere at the same time, so it's really important to have community correspondents to help get the information of everything that's happening in town. So maybe a reporter can cover a council meeting, but at the same time, someone can be sitting in at a local scout meeting, going to a spaghetti supper, sitting on the sidelines of a sporting event. And all of that creates a public record and a snapshot of a town at a certain time and place. And it's something that a community can reflect on years later to see how their town grew and developed. So my first tip to you would be to remember that what you're doing is valuable and very important to a newspaper. Being a correspondent can be intimidating sometimes depending on where you're going and what you're reporting on. But something important to remember when you walk into the room is that you bring the entire readership with you. And they don't want to sit in the corner. They want to go right to the front row. They want to speak to the organizer, they want to speak to everybody involved, and they want to know exactly what went down at that event. As a community correspondent, when you decide to report on an event or an activity, something that you should remember when you approach it is that a newspaper does generate its revenue from advertising. So you want to remember that you're there to gather and share information, but not necessarily to publicize. A rule that newspapers usually remember to themselves is if they charge, we charge. So you should act accordingly in the way that you report events that you intend to cover. The first thing that you should do when you arrive somewhere is identify that you're a community correspondent and that you intend on reporting on the activity or event that you're attending. Some people are going to shy away from you and have no interest in speaking. Other people will come towards you and want to share all of the exciting news. That's totally normal. One of the things that you discover once you announce yourself as a community correspondent or a reporter is that if you go to an event, you'll usually leave with about a dozen more stories to follow up on afterwards because people are very excited to share the news in their community, and that's a really great thing. When you're acting as a community correspondent, it's really important to remember that you should be an observer, not a participant. I know that that's hard because in a small community, you're often directly involved in the things that you're going to be reporting on, and that's fine. But what you should remember in that moment is that you're there to report objectively. So try and include a variety of voices to make sure that you're covering the information from many angles. Pro tip, get the technical stuff out of the way first. Things like people's names, their job titles, the official name of an event or a book or an activity. All of these things you should verify from the very beginning and confirm the spelling. That will remove so many worries when it comes time to sit down and write later. A picture really is worth 1,000 words, so take lots while you're out covering an event. And just remember the quality of the photo is important. So you always want faces in a picture, not feet. So get as close as you can. Usually 3 to 4 feet is an excellent distance for a picture. Something else to remember is that in a newspaper, when you have a photograph, you either identify everyone or no one. So either list the names of the people left to right on your notebook when you take the picture, or provide a more generic cut line. When you're acting as a community correspondent, you should try and get all of the information possible, and then you can always edit it down later. Some people like to write it all down, and some people like to use a recorder. So find the method that works best for you, and then when you review your material, find the most important thing that happened at that event or activity. That's your lead. It's really important to set a deadline for yourself and stick to it. A newspaper will always give you one, but it's wise to set one at least a few hours, if not a day earlier, to make sure that you've got your information done and you're not rushing to submit. Before submitting your story to a newspaper, run a little checklist and ask yourself, did I verify all the names, titles, dates, details, and quotes in this story? Did I get a variety of voices to make sure that all angles were covered? And did I put the most important details at the beginning of the article? Those are important things to remember in your writing. Once you've done that important work as a community correspondent, and you've written your article and you've submitted it to the newspaper, let it go. You're in a small community, and it's possible some people will offer you feedback after what you've done. You refer them directly to the editor. If somebody has a criticism, say, I'll put you in touch with the editor. If somebody wants a correction, let me put you in touch with the editor. You have done the best that you could, and your intention was to share important information in the community, and after that, it lies in the hands of the newspaper.